Welcome to the Battlefield Show. I'm your host, Sage Goodwin, and as always, I'm joined by Sammy Boy. How you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
Doing pretty good. I actually had what's so funny. I got a message from you. We're moving our time around and all that kind of stuff. But I had it, literally, I was dreaming about podcasting the Battlefield Show before you even messaged me. So, there must have been some kind of
it was a sign.
Yeah, it was a sign, man. I think last episode you didn't have any Wi-Fi, so we had to skip that one.
Yeah, that's probably why. You probably just had the itch because I had to ditch it last week.
I think it's funny too because we did episode 69 and then we skipped an episode and that would have been just such a baller mood of we quit the show.
We're done now. Sorry, that was my last episode. I'm never coming back.
But now we have to make it to 420 episodes so we get to the next funny number. But in this episode, we're going to be talking about the new limited time only mode that's been out, the new mid-season event, as well as what you need to know for Battlefield 2042 if you just got it for Christmas. So that's what we're going to be talking about in this episode. Have you had time to play any of the new mode?
I had time to play one game before we started.
Same here.
I've had a chaotic week, and then when I messaged you last night and was like, "Oh, it's just this week's chaos. We're gonna have to maybe try and do it early." Then I was like, "Oh man, I probably need to play the mode that we're gonna be talking about." So I found some time this morning. I actually tried playing earlier, but just that time of day in Australia just doesn't really work. So then I was all stressed and I was like, "Oh man, I'm not gonna even have time to play." But I did manage to find a game just literally when you messaged me, I was playing. So yeah, played a bit this morning. What about you?
Yeah, I same kind of thing. Before we hopped on, I was playing a game, and it's pretty good. It's not technically Breakthrough, but it feels a lot like Breakthrough.
Yeah, it really just feels like Breakthrough and Conquest combined.
Yeah, if they had a beautiful
that really
baby.
Is just what it is. That's how. If someone asked what is Conquest Assault, I would literally just say, yeah, it's Conquest, but if they put a bit of Breakthrough into it.
Yeah. It felt exactly like that. But I'm having a fun time with it. It felt really good, honestly. I love that they nixed the air vehicles, because this is that's one of the things is 32 v 32, and it's all ground warfare only. So you have ground vehicles and you have soldiers on the ground. That's it. There's no air vehicles, anything like that. And I love it. I'm having so much fun with it.
Yeah, the game that I played earlier, it was a very chaotic but not too chaotic type of game, and it seemed pretty balanced. Again, you can't really judge from one game, but it seemed balanced enough, and yeah, it felt different enough, but still familiar. It wasn't I jumped in and I was like, oh, what am I doing? I don't know the objective and stuff. It really just felt pretty similar to Conquest, but with just a slight little different edge, I guess. So yeah, I'm a fan of it.
Same here. I think, and hey man, it's on my lovely spearhead, so of course I'm all about this.
Yep. To be honest, they could do whatever mode they want on that map, and I reckon I would enjoy it.
I don't care if it's I'm hunting butterflies around the map. I'm gonna be all for it. I love that it's all about that Nordvik facility, and it's all about hey, we're on Spearhead, we're part of this specific Black Storm regiment, and it's all about this specific map. It really ties into the whole season really well, and I'm a big fan of it.
Yeah, I think when the season came out, that's something we both sort of touched on, was that this season feels very much themed compared to the last ones. There's an actual through line through the whole thing where it's a bit more futuristic, and it's all, the map has something to do with the weapons we got because of the tech involved and all that kind of thing. And now this also kind of plays into it. So this is how, not to say that the first two seasons were bad, because I think they were good seasons too, but this is how a season should feel, where it's I think when we look back at season 1 and 2, there's not that much of a theme. The specialists and the weapons and that, they didn't have anything to do with the maps, which doesn't make it a bad thing. But I think we'll probably all look back at this season as the one where it's like, oh, I remember that like futuristic season.
Yeah.
And like it kind of has that, that theme to it, which I'm a big fan of. I think when games do that, when you can remember a season based off of like its theme or its what it was trying to do, that for some reason makes them a lot more memorable, and you kind of have like fonder memories of it as well.
Yeah, it's a full package. Like, of the previous seasons, I think were great for what they were. They were learning, they were trying things out, they were seeing what's going to work, what's not going to work. And I think they've landed on a really good like balance of, okay, the first season and the second season. And they've said, okay, we took what we learned from the last season, especially the last mid-season event, which did not go as well as they hoped for. And they specifically said it in like an article or something, or online on like Twitter.
Yeah.
They said that. And they've done a really good job of making it make sense for the whole season. It ties in together. It's only on the new map. It's all themed towards the group that is building these weapons on the new map, and it has a good cohesive theme throughout of it, because they have assault on Nordvik, which is week 1, defense of Nordvik, which is week 2, and that's retribution, and then week 3 is the liberation of Nordvik. So it's all focused around this one new map, and they're just doing a really good job of like capitalizing on the great map that they made and making it make sense. And like, I love this. Like, I love the new focus around this. I hope that it continues and that we do have like those cohesive additions.
Yeah, and it definitely, even just the little like snippets we've got of season 4 where they've showed that little bit of concept art and stuff, it does feel like it's kind of filtering through to that as well, where it seems like they've kind of gone, okay, that seems to work when it's a bit of a package deal. So like season 4 will be, relatively similar, and obviously we need to see what happens first, but it looks like that's going to be that same sort of case where, it's not just going to be a bunch of like, in all fairness, like we said with season 1 and 2, good content, but like it wasn't linked. It was just like a good map and good weapons and good specialists, and that they didn't really have anything to do with each other, I guess.
Yeah,
they kind of did, in that like Crawford is meant to be like this arms dealer type guy, and it was the map was based on that, but it didn't sell me on that.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a good map and I just liked it, but I didn't ever think like, story elements weren't the thing that made me enjoy it. Whereas like when I'm playing on Spearhead, I kind of feel like playing Breakthrough and you're assaulting the big arms factory, like that actually feels like you're part of the story, kind of like how in Battlefront 2 with Galactic Assault, like there is a story. It's like, and if you're playing as the clones and you've got to attack that
is a really good point.
The facility of the droids, the separatists. It's like you know what you're doing, and it makes sense in Star Wars. It's kind of the same in this, where it's like you actually can feel what the goal of this attack is. Sometimes in maps, in most shooters, to be fair, it's not even just Battlefield. Like you're playing the game and you kind of just like, I don't really know what I'm doing. Maybe the exception being, I don't know, like say Iwo Jima in Battlefield 5, we know that like that's a historical thing, so it makes sense that the Americans are attacking that place. Like it just makes sense, but it's hard to do that in a non-real situation because we aren't sold on that. We don't know the history of 2042. Yeah. But they've done a really good job of that, so you can actually see it happening. And I really like that. Like I said, I just think it makes them a bit more memorable. And I know this will be the season. When I look back on this game, this will be the season I'd probably remember the most. Yeah.
And I think you made a good point there because, like this is, I think, the first season where we've seen like the story actually like take an effect and you really notice it.
Yeah.
Because like, and actually like not just notice it, but it actually develops the story of what we know so far with 2042. Because I don't think any of the other maps, they're like, if you look at the Canada map, like, it's great. But it doesn't really tie in or expand the 2042 story or what that gear looks like for the no-pats and everything like that, because what they did is they had these really like subtle pieces of storytelling. Like you can see that the meeting rooms are like all all about. Like, they're strewn over, papers are everywhere, all that kind of stuff. Like,
Yeah.
they had subtle storytelling with the map design. They didn't have any of that with Stranded. Like, there wasn't like an expansion of what we know 2042 is doing. Like, why is that ship there? No, it's not there. Like, nobody really knows what's going on when it comes to Stranded. Great map. I really enjoy playing it. But now we have kind of like the bits and pieces from the first and the second map, and they come together in this one. Like, there is a storytelling aspect of it. Why are what is this big cube out in the forest, or not even forest, the field of Sweden? Well, it's an arms creation that's like drone built, and they have all these different pieces and bits and bobs there going. And now you have a little bit more of the story of it as well. So
yeah, and I think, like you said, it actually evolves the story too, because you kind of can think of it as like, okay, so they're attacking this to try and take over from it or stop them from using those weapons on us, so we have to win, and it actually makes sense. Whereas like when you are attacking exposure, I don't really know what the point of that is. Do you know what I mean? And it's a fun map, and you don't need storytelling to make a good map. You can just have literally anything, and if it plays well, then it's a good map. But it does, like I said, it just kind of adds to it, and I don't know why we were in Canada. You know, I don't know why we were there. I don't know what the goal was. It doesn't take away from the map, because the map was great, but it's that little tiny missing element where it's when you actually sit there and think, oh, like, why were we, like, there's been this big landslide, like, what are we doing fighting over it?
Yeah.
But I can see that for this map, for Spearheaded, it just really, everything just clicks. I think that's the thing we're getting at here, is they've got all these elements, and then when you add them all together, it actually still makes sense. And that's why it's probably a bit more memorable than the others.
Yeah. I like this. Like, I think they had this whole plan around the story of 2042. They had like the whole lead up of it. They had the short film. They had all of the written blogs, and they had like they wanted to do something. And then, per usual, there's a launch issue. And with DICE, they have this plan that they want to implement and all these different things, and something happens of their own making where it stops them from doing that. And I think now we're starting to see kind of the intention of what they wanted it to be instead of what it actually was.
Yeah, exactly. Because, that is, like you said, one thing with DICE that I think they often have really good ideas in the execution. Not even because they like suck at what they do or something. I think it's just there's always, launch issues that are not. It just kind of gets in the way of their execution sometimes, and it does feel like they've finally gotten to the point where they can actually execute things. Because in season 1 and 2, they were still very much fixing the game, whereas it does feel like it's pretty fixed now. Like, there's still things to improve, but it doesn't feel like season 3 is like a fixer season, whereas season 1 was definitely like, here's some good content, but we're also probably the main thing we're doing is fixing the game still.
Yeah.
And that, I think, now that they don't probably have to worry about that as much, they can probably just tie it all together and make it a bit more polished than those early seasons.
Yeah, this is just like it's super exciting to see, yes, they can actually make something that fits the world of 2042 and is good.
Yeah. Because that's the thing. They either make really good stuff that, like we said with season 1 and 2, there is really good stuff that doesn't really like tie into the rest of it that well, or they'll often do things that do tie into things really well, like Hourglass, but it's not fun. So they've actually finally had both sides of it actually pay off, which is a very exciting thing.
Yeah, I'm excited to see kind of what's going forward, but we'll get into that next episode. So we had all these changes. We've had launch controversy. We've had all these ups and downs and lack of communication and lack of content and all this stuff. But hey, I think it's in a really good spot, and I imagine that a lot of people have either gotten it for Christmas or got it on a sale recently from Black Friday. So I wanted to kind of get on the podcast and let's talk about some of our tips and tricks that we have on the game. And I think I'll go first and just say, pay attention to the upgrade path for your weapons, and you're probably going to have to go out of the actual game itself to see this clearly, because that's what it took for me to do it. But like the whole progression path and like unlocking the different weapons, I think if you know what you're aiming for, like let's say there's a weapon that's you have to do a specific task to update or actually unlock, pay attention to that, specifically plan and get prepared for it, because I didn't do that until very recently. I was just playing, and I was so close on several different weapons of unlocking another one. And if you're like just getting into this game, or maybe you got a refund early on and you're getting back into it, and whatever your situation is, I think it's definitely worth it to pay attention to the tasks that you have to do to unlock the different weapons. Because I mean, my AC-42 is now fully stocked and built up, and I had no idea how good this weapon was because I just did not pay attention and I hadn't unlocked it until really recently.
Yeah, especially with a lot of the new Portal weapons, they've got like specific, you've got to get 100 kills with this gun and then like 60, revive 60 teammates and stuff. It's not really things, you'll get that eventually if you just happen to play for a long time, but you can really fast track it by just actually going, okay, this gun's locked, what do I have to do to get it? And just go and do it. And then once you get them all unlocked, then you can obviously just play with them at will, and you don't have to worry about the grind side of it anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's a good point with the that's kind of what made me start thinking about it, was those new Portal weapons of like, oh, hey, how do I get those? Oh, yeah, that's how you do it. Yeah, okay, now I'm in business. Now, like, it finally clicked for me after a year of the game being out. Of like, oh yeah, you have to do these things to unlock the weapons. You can't just like keep on hopping in between every single weapon and expecting you to like unlock. Because that was what I was doing. I was like, okay, I'm going to do the SVK, and then I'm going to go to this one, and I'm going to go to this one, but not pay attention to exactly what I needed. And definitely utilize Portal for this. Open up a portal, play against AI, and you can quickly unlock your just weapons. Specifically say, okay, I'm going to play this round and I'm going to keep this in mind. I may need 50 headshots or whatever. Like, keep that in mind as you're playing it, and it's going to treat you well in the future.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I do whenever there's a new update with new Portal weapons. It probably sounds like a bit of a cheat, but it's like I just play a couple, maybe an hour or so of solo conquest or breakthrough, and you can get so many kills. You can get like 200 kills a game against those bots because they're so easy. And usually when there's an update, like I've got the new guns are all unlocked within like an hour because you just do it against bots. And I think it used to not count until then. You'd have to get one kill in actual multiplayer to actually like make it register, but I think they've fixed that finally. So
yeah, I think so too.
You don't even technically need to play multiplayer to get the guns, which is, I think it's a good thing because not everyone has the time to sit there, and it's obviously harder to get kills in against real players. It's not like it's hard; it just takes longer.
Or like headshots.
And not everyone has not everyone has the time to sit there not everyone's good enough. Not everyone can be first on the leaderboard every game. Like, it's just definitely an easy way to unlock the guns, and I think the more guns everyone has, the better. So it's definitely something that's worth doing.
And I think all of the guns, like with Battlefront 2, I didn't really feel any difference between like most of the weapons that they had. Obviously, there were like differences, but from like 2015 to 2017, the two different games, like there wasn't a huge thing for me, like depending on if I use this weapon or this weapon. But this game, I think they do a really good job of, okay, this weapon is going to have a specific difference and a specific strength that you should use this weapon for this purpose. And you can totally like switch through them to have those different advantages depending on where you are in the fight. And like, I'll pick a different weapon if I'm playing Breakthrough on Spearhead versus Conquest on Spearhead, or like vice versa, whatever weapons or whatever weapon map combination, like you're definitely you want to like more long range if you're something on like Breakaway, or like you want to keep that in mind as you go through the game.
Yeah, and like adding on to that even more is the plus system is a great way to sort
Yes.
of do that a tiny bit. Obviously, you do, like you said, you kind of need to. You can't ever turn like a shotgun into a sniper. Like you can't,
Yeah.
you can't change them that much. But it does allow you to sort of have that little bit of a middle ground where sometimes there is a map that you can have a gun that can handle most ranges.
Mm-hmm.
Like not all ranges. You can never, like I said, you can't use an SMG, and
Yeah.
you're not going to beat a sniper. But you can have an SMG that if you're at sort of mid range against an AR, you can still win those because you can fully deck it out. Where theirs might be set up to, a lot of people run the M5A3 with like almost running that like an SMG, and you could run an MP9 with all its long range stuff on it. You can actually beat that assault rifle and stuff. So having your plus system set up, not necessarily, it doesn't matter how you've got your attachments, like the base attachments, but just having the like different options there, so that on the fly you can go, oh man, like I've got to run out into this open area, and my MP9, for example, is set for really close quarters. That's not going to help me. So let me put on the extended barrel and a grip, and then it just gives you that tiny. It's only 5% difference. Like it's not going to make that much of a difference, but
Yeah.
it does give you enough of a boost, I guess, that you will win one or two extra gunfights per game that you probably wouldn't if you don't make the most of that. I think the plus system is honestly one of the best additions to Battlefield ever.
Yeah.
And having played a lot of Warzone lately, I'm kind of like, man, I miss that. Like, they need to add that to Warzone now because it really is a great way to be able to. It kind of adds a bit of a, I wouldn't say a skill curve, but I don't know how to explain it, but it kind of allows you, if you're thinking constantly about how to maximize it, it's not that it makes you a better player, but it allows you to use your smarts more than the other player, for example. And I think it kind of allows for a bit of outplay potential where if everyone just has the gun they spawn in with, then the guy might beat you because his gun's better equipped for that situation. But if you're always thinking about it, you can go, oh man, like I've got a 3-second window right here where I can quickly change my loadout, and then I'm going to win that gunfight. And I just really like that you can kind of use your brains. For me, that's the type of player I am. I'm probably more of a smart player than a skillful player because I'm not the best aim. I'm not the best movement. I think my biggest strength is being able to kind of like quickly make decisions on the fly, and it just adds to that even more. So especially, I guess, anyone that's like our age and older, all the like 15-year-old kids have probably got the reaction speed that they don't need to rely on that. But I think, my age and older, I'm starting to lose reaction speed. I'm starting to get old, so I've got to use my brain a bit more.
I'm just a player. Smart or skilled. I just play the game. But like I 100% agree with the idea that I think the plus system is the best addition to Battlefield in probably the last decade. I think they really struck gold on that, and they've done a really good job. I think there were some complaints about it in the beginning of like, oh my gosh, how do I know if like, I mean, if you're looking at real war, you don't know what the other person has. So
it's one of those things that was like on paper. I could see people were like, oh, how can you change your suppressor without them having to do like the animation of putting it on, and that's the downside to doing it, is it takes a couple of seconds or whatever, but because it's instant, people weren't happy about that. But I have never once, both using it or having it used against me, I've never been like, oh man, that plus system is so annoying. Like I've just never thought that. It's only good. I've never actually heard anyone say anything bad about it once the game actually launched.
Yeah, I love it. I've got my AC-42 like completely hooked up in terms of like, okay, I've got my ammo, I've got my clip where it's fully maxed out in terms of how much I can have on a clip. I've got the stronger ammo, and that takes down how much I can have in the clip. Like I have the long to medium range scope. I've got the medium range scope, and then I've got the stock. And then I also have like a suppressor and all. Like, it's just so fun to think about like the different metas you can have with just one single weapon. Like, they may have not had a ton of weapons at launch, but just the amount of customization that you have available to you with those existing weapons, I think they really did a good job with that.
Yeah, 100%. And like you said, it does actually kind of make each weapon have multiple weapons within it, I guess you would say, where it's like I said, a lot of people, probably the most used weapon and like setup in the game is like the really fast rate of fire M5A3. That's the one that I probably use the most, and it's probably what I die to the most. But like, if you then put the extended barrel and high power rounds on your M5A3, it actually turns it into like a legitimate assault rifle where it's like a slower rate of fire, and it just feels completely different. I hadn't changed in a long time. And the other day I was in a long range gunfight and I had it set up for close quarters, and I was like, oh, I probably should change it. And when I fired it, I was like, whoa, this is a different gun. Like, this isn't even the gun I've been using. So yeah, I love that part of it. It really does. Like you said, that's something I didn't think of, but it did somewhat, I wouldn't say fully, but it somewhat countered the fact that there wasn't many weapons at launch, because there's probably like 2 to 3 weapons per weapon, as dumb as that is a sentence.
And then you look at something like the new railgun, like where literally it changes the entire gun depending, and it's all run through like
different.
Yeah, it's all run through that plus system of like, I didn't realize that. I'm like, where are all these people finding these different guns? Like, what the heck's going on here? And then I was watching a stream or something, and I was like, oh, that's how you do it. Whoa.
Yeah. It's a great addition, man. It's one of those things that, like, I hope Battlefield never doesn't have it again.
Yeah.
I hope in 10 years there's a new Battlefield out that has the plus system. Mm-hmm. I'll actually be very, very mad if they remove it. Like, that's just one of the best things. It's kind of like, for me, the Behemoth system, where it's like, still to this day, that game came out, 2016, Battlefield 1 came out, so it's 6 years ago. And I'm still mad that the Behemoth's aren't in the game anymore. I think it'll be a situation like that where, and even more than that, because I could see the downside of like, oh, there's this big airship that just destroys people. So I get that that's a bit annoying. There is not a single downside to the plus system. So I just hope that they keep it forever.
That's always the fear with Battlefield and DICE specifically, because they may like hit gold on something and they're like, yeah, we're never going to do that again.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, I think part of that, like, obviously, I 100% agree with like the Behemoth side of things, because that was just so much fun, and it really, it like carried over the idea of the like Levolution, where something completely changes the map that's in the game, has like a story beat to it. And I think that's like on that same level. And then you have like the build system with Battlefield 5, which I really enjoyed. Like, I think that was fun. And it allowed for people who weren't skilled with the game to have an impact on gameplay. Yeah. So that was good.
Yeah. That's another prime example. Yeah, the fortification system is like, why remove that? Especially with this game, the maps were so bare at the launch.
Let us like, build the cover.
Yeah,
you don't even have to
work for you. Just put some areas where I can build, and I'll do the rest. But yeah, that's every game for the last couple. They've added something really good, and then the next game it wasn't there. Yeah, even in Battlefield 5 with the whole the V1 rockets and like the squad leader system, that was awesome too. Like you could, it was almost like kill streaks in Call of Duty, where you can, if you really play the objective and you work as a squad, you can earn a V1 rocket that is just this awesome big explosion that's like, when you hear it coming in, everyone's like, oh my god, it's coming. And then they just go, that was cool, but we're not doing that again. And it's like, come on, just we've got to start keeping some of these good ideas. That's what, imagine if this game had behemoths and the squad system and the plus system and all that. I mean, it has the squad system, but the squad leader system and all that would really add to it. So yeah, I really hope that they, especially the plus system, I think it's the best of those three, and I really hope that they just keep that moving forward. Otherwise I'll be a very angry boy, that's for sure.
Yep. Yeah, right there with you. What are some of like let's just say you're new to the game. Do you have any tips for anybody just hopping in?
It's always a tough one to answer because there's so much you
Mm-hmm.
can give tips on. The key one that it always sounds very cliche, but playing the objective is the best way to learn the game.
Yeah.
And that's why I think
That
that's
is a
why
good point.
Dice are like always so big on saying it.
PTFO, bro.
Not just because it makes it funner for everyone.
Yeah.
Like that's part of it. But it also is just that's the best way to learn the maps. It's the best way to
Take down vehicles.
find the high traffic find the high traffic areas and all that is to just if you're playing breakthrough, don't sit at the back of the map sniping. Go, okay, there's the capture point. I'm just going to go just going to go check it out and just see what that's about. And I think that's the best way to learn the game, as well as like not just learning the maps, but it will put you in tense situations, which will make you a better player. Like you do have to actually, you're going to have to die a lot of times to get better. That's just how everyone gets better. So run to that objective and you might get absolutely mowed down like 5 times, but then on the 6th time, you'll get a really satisfying multi-kill and you'll capture the objective, and that's how you get better as a player. So it's a pretty like boring and typical answer, but I think that's like the number one thing for Battlefield.
Yeah.
It's not really like that in other shooters, but Battlefield is a very like objective-based game compared to like say Call of Duty and stuff, where I think that is definitely just the best way to play.
Yeah, and the game rewards you to it early on. If you do play the objective, the game will reward you for that, and then you'll get not necessarily combat ribbons, but you'll get some of the ribbons for it. You'll get advantages through leveling up through the battle pass if you have the battle pass. Like, there's a lot of different things that will help you with your journey through Battlefield because of your playing the objective.
Yeah, exactly. Even just like you said, it's faster to unlock things. Like it is just smarter to do it anyway, even if you don't like it, or even if it didn't make you a better player. It's just smarter to get more XP and get those guns faster and all that kind of thing. So again, it's a kind of a boring answer, but it's probably the number one tip that you kind of always have to give with Battlefield.
Yeah, DICE is all about the objective. They constantly reference the objective, and they will definitely reward you. And I think they utilize that to your advantage, especially early on. Like you said, you're going to learn the game. You're going to learn different pieces of the whole experience there. And it's fun. It's a fun, like, once you get better at the game, definitely go for the kills and that kind of stuff. But it's fun. Like I'll hop through and I'll play the objective as well. Of like, okay, yeah, I may not do this all the time, but hey, I'm going to this round play the objective as much as I can.
Yeah, and that's the thing with it, is that you don't have to finish at the top with 50 kills for it to be fun. If you're just going for kills and you don't get the kills, that's not fun. But if you're trying to just have a fun game, you might get 0 kills and 20 deaths, but you might also revive a bunch of teammates and capture some objectives that it makes it... You finish that game and you go, damn, that was fun. Like, we won the game, and I didn't really myself do that much in terms of like kills and that. But you definitely help your team more by doing that stuff anyway. So a lot of people might feel like they're not contributing, but you actually are. If you're playing, you're probably contributing more if you play the objective and get 0 kills than someone who plays the objective a little bit and gets 20 kills. Like you're actually probably doing more for the team. So yeah, I think that's the part of I think that's why I love Battlefield so much, is that you don't necessarily have to have a good game for it to be fun. Yeah. Whereas in a game like, again, just going back to Call of Duty, that really does rely on, like, if you have a bad kill death ratio in a match, that match will not be fun. Like there's just no way that'll be fun. But it's just not really the same in Battlefield.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Secondarily, like another thing that I'll add for like tips and tricks and that kind of thing, something to be aware of, is, and this is going to sound stupid, and this is going to make all of DICE cringe, but hop in a vehicle at the beginning of a match or wait until someone else gets to a point that you can spawn on. Most of the time, even with the map changes, that kind of thing, it still benefits you greatly to either hop into a vehicle to get to the points quickly or just wait for someone else that has hopped into a vehicle. And this only is for the beginning. But if you have the opportunity to spawn into a vehicle, do that, get there quicker, or just wait till someone who has a vehicle gets there. And that's gonna make the first bit of your adventure into Battlefield much better.
Yeah, I still to this day do not spawn at the start of a game until I can spawn near a flag. Like I'll just sit there and watch the top-down version of the match, just see kind of what's happening. Go, oh, we're capping C1 and they're getting C2. There's a tank near C1, so I'll spawn on that. But if I have to spawn at our deployment and run, I'll just sit there and I'll just go on my phone for like a minute and just wait until someone else does the work for me.
Yeah.
The maps are still, even Spearhead, like running from spawn to those areas is just stupid. Like it's too far. So, you know, you got to exploit those systems where there's, not that it's not really an exploit spawning on your teammates and stuff, but it's just
part
like
of the game.
Yeah, just let someone else do the driving and just go, someone's close to that objective, I will spawn on them instead of like instead of feeling you have to spawn, the game's starting, oh man, I got to spawn. Just delete that thought. You don't have to spawn straight away.
Yep.
Because no one's killing each other at the start of the game. You're not losing out on any potential XP or anything. You might get like one extra capture if you run along the way or whatever, but yeah. That's definitely a way to fast track getting into the action. It's
going to benefit you so much if you. I mean, not there. It's rare that I'll hop into the game that starts from the beginning, but if you do, it's going to save you so much time, and it's going to. There's no enjoyment when you're walking the long distance from the first spawn on orbital all the way to the first point. It's don't feel like you're cheating the game because you're doing it. Just do it.
100%. And this is even more, probably feels like you're cheating the game, and DICE probably don't want to hear this either, but if you've got to go a long way and there's no way to get there, just redeploy and to get back into it. I do that like 5 times a game. I just if I've captured a flag and there's no faster way to get somewhere else, I'll just be like, I'm just gonna kill my player and just spawn in another spot, because it's just, who cares about one death? It just doesn't matter. And you might pick up an extra 3 kills and capture an objective that you wouldn't have got if you ran all the way. And you might run all the way there anyway and just get shot immediately. So it can be a bit of a waste of time to do that every time.
I did that on Manifest on the rework. I was on this area that no one was there, and I'm like, I don't want to freaking walk all of this way in this like open road. Like, heck no. So what I did is I just redeployed. It's part of the game, and like they're like you said, in Call of Duty, you're focused on your KD ratio, and like that's a big part of the whole experience of playing Call of Duty. But that's not Battlefield. Battlefield is like the whole Battlefield experience. You're going from point to point. You're playing the objective. Obviously, use the advantage of the redeploy system. Like,
100%. That's something that I think a lot of people just, it's like naturally, you don't want to kill your player. Like, that's not a good thing, but it's also like, if it saves me a minute of running, then I'm definitely going to do that.
Exactly. Yeah, and most of the times it'll save you more than a minute. Even with the map reworks, like, you're still going to save much more time than if you would have just like randomly walked over there. And then you have then you have like the freaking opportunity to just get shot and destroyed and killed and all that stuff. So like, just redeploy. It's great. Die. And then come back again.
We have the luxury of that in the game, so it's, I think, make the most.
Don't try that in real life.
It works in real life,
but it works great in Battlefield. The final note I'd probably say is not necessarily a tip or a trick, but hey, Respawn and revive your teammates. It's the right thing to do.
Yep. That's probably, when I say play the objective, that almost is like part of that in a way, where it's like you're helping like preserve the tickets of your team. You're also getting more XP, which is kind of why we pointed at playing the objective in the first place. And it's also, I don't know about everyone else, but for me that's half the fun.
Yeah.
Is I actually genuinely probably enjoy it as much, if not more, than getting a kill. When I'm playing with the boys and one of them goes down and they're just thinking, oh man, like I've just died. And then, you know, Captain Sammy comes along to the team and gives them a revive. That's a great feeling. It's just like, and then they get all excited and it's, I don't know. It's just, it just adds to the game. And then in terms of like enjoyment, but also, you literally just do get more XP. It helps the team. For those who are newer that don't understand the ticket system, in Conquest, it's not just about the flags. You actually lose tickets per death as well. So if you save someone's life, that's a ticket that your team isn't going to lose.
Yeah.
And so if you get 40 revives a game, you've saved 40 tickets. And that can very often be the difference between a win and a loss. Because the amount of... I've actually had a lot recently where games are coming down to like the last... It'll be like 10 tickets difference.
They get close.
Yeah. And so it really does like... Even 5 revives per game, especially if like it's not just you doing that, it's everyone. That the team who's reviving more will win the game, because not only does it save the ticket, you then like doubled the amount of people alive in that spot.
Yeah.
So if you're in a building trying to capture the objective and it's just you and one other teammate against 3 enemies, right? If they kill one teammate, then it's a 1v3. But if you revive that teammate, then it's a 2v3, and that's like doubled your chances of winning. So even in that situation, you've saved the ticket itself, but then you two might get those 3 kills and save yourself a ticket and delete 3 of their tickets and capture the objective. So like it actually has a massive swing that I just think people don't fully pay enough attention to. I think, to be fair, I think a lot of Battlefield players do, but I think like regular shooter players who maybe haven't played Battlefield before, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal, but it definitely is, that's for sure.
Yeah, it makes me really happy, because it's something that I can do that I may not be the best shot. I may not have like the best skill in the game, but at least I can be there for my buddy, you know?
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of what I mean. It just feels good. It's like gives you a big rush of energy. You get especially when you like chain a few together. If there's like a grenade goes off in a hallway and there's just chaos going on, and you see 3 downed teammates and you revive all of them, and then as they're kind of getting up, you shoot some shots down the hallway and maybe get a kill. Like that is Battlefield for me. That's what. Yeah. Those moments are what I enjoy. It's not about getting... I'd rather that and get 1 kill and 3 revives than like a quad kill. I think that's way more satisfying to get. Yeah. To like kind of be multitasking, where it's like, hang on boys, I'm going to pick all of you up and then get a few kills and capture the objective. Yeah. Like that's when you feel at your best, when also, you technically got 1 kill. Like you didn't even do anything crazy, but...
And nothing's more satisfying than like getting on the leaderboard from revives as well. Like it's so fun. Exactly. Like just looking agree more. Like looking out for your teammates, and then nothing's like cheekier than when you like are just about to die, or like there's a bunch of people in the hallway and you pull off that like sneaky revive, and then they end up killing or revenging you. Like it's so perfect. Like so much fun when you have that moment. Yeah. That like I said, that is what makes Battlefield enjoyable for me. That like Call of Duty is the type of game where you just want to kind of get your kills, and that's what's fun about that. And for Battlefield, it's almost the exact opposite. That's still fun to do really well for kills, but like I said, I think I'd prefer... My like ideal game is like getting a pretty decent amount of kills, but getting like 30 revives and capturing the most objectives on your team and stuff like that is when you finish your game and you go, oh, that was the best game I've ever played, because I actually had an impact on us winning. Especially in a
128 player conquest lobby, if you're one out of 120 players and you almost like carry your team, that makes you feel like a god sometimes. So that's the thing. You don't have to be the best player to do it. You can, literally anyone, you could pick up the game for the first time. And if you just see the revive indicators and go and revive those people, you can finish in the top 5 pretty comfortably by just doing that.
Yeah. And it's so fun and so satisfying too when you do it.
Mm.
But I think with that, thank you all so much for listening to this episode of The Battlefield Show. Greatly appreciate all of your support. Make sure to check us out on YouTube, at Uplink Podcast and Sammy Boy. Check us all out for the content that we create on there. And hey, if you have some Battlefield buddies, share the podcast. Be greatly appreciated. Leave us a review. Rate us on Spotify. Helps us out a ton. Thank you all so much for listening. Ethan Clark for the beautiful thumbnail. And we'll see you all on the battlefield.